you ready for the truth? Bring it on!
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth?
I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Here comes the truth.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth and the battle for the truth. The battle for the truth and accountability in Benghazi. A man who's certainly on the front lines of that battle is Buzz Jacobs. He is the co-director of Benghazi 9/11, and you can check out that movie, that documentary, at Benghazi9-11.com. And as usual, on the flip side of the break, I will be posting it on the Facebook page. Go to the Facebook page, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk, the Facebook page, like the page, comment on the show, and then you'll link up to Buzz and the project. Buzz, tell me, let's reset the table here just for a moment, because with any story that is ongoing, 11 months plus, we are sitting here and we have a dead American ambassador, 3 Americans who were defending him killed, and we don't have answers. So tell me, why is Benghazi a scandal?
Well, where do I begin, Craig?
I know that. Well, that's the thing. How about it? But seriously, because I think, Investors Business Daily recapped a fair amount, and it's still getting information. We're speaking a lot to Syria. We'll talk about just a little connection to, not a little connection, a reported connection to Benghazi in a little bit. But my point to asking you that is, yeah, it's drinking from the fire hose. But just give us a thumbnail sketch, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Here's a thumbnail. And let's break it up into 3 parts. Before the attack, during the attack, and after. Before the attack, the failure was a failure to prepare, a failure of Secretary Clinton to prepare her State Department and the embassies and consulates throughout the world, particularly in Benghazi, obviously. A failure of the administration to do what the previous administration, in which I worked, done, a failure to prepare for the anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 attack. Major failures of government and the military to prepare. The night of the scandal, the president went to bed. He abandoned our troops on the battlefield, so to speak. He did not bring his National Security Council to the White House Situation Room and sit there and look them in the eye and make them understand that this is important and we need to do everything we can in our power to save those folks. And then after, it's the cover-up. It's in the heat of a presidential election, it's changing talking points to fit a narrative that helped President Obama get reelected. It's denying FOIA requests. It's withholding people, survivors from public. It's keeping survivors of the attack hidden and away from them, and using tactics like such as the CIA is reportedly using, where they polygraph people. And it is a continual stonewall of Congress. And lastly, of course, it's the failure of the mainstream media to do its job and to demand answers from the president and hold the administration accountable. So that's my thumbnail sketch, and I probably missed about 500 things.
Yeah, and well done, because you did highlight the main portions, but I could say main portions, and we could be here for 3 hours. And maybe at some point we should do that, specifically on the discussion of Benghazi and going through it. That for another day. Here's the question, though. Buzz, you mentioned getting your national security team together. You've mentioned this before on the night of the behavior of the president. You worked in the Bush administration. You served on a committee dealing with, and pardon me for not having the formal name, of Homeland Security. You've seen this go into action. So tell me, is it protocol when an event like this happens that there is an action to bring everybody together and to work through the crisis?
Absolutely. There is a usual protocol. It's almost, in my experience at the White House, it was second nature. If there's an event like Benghazi where a terrorist attack is taking place, it was essentially an act of war, right? To a smaller degree, of course, where we have terrorists attacking a U.S. territory, I guess it may not technically have been because it was a special mission combat, but nevertheless, it's absolutely common for the president to pull together his national security team. And I can't imagine, Crane, especially in a presidential election, when the president has so much at stake, his whole career in politics is on the lines, and his whole the judgment of the American people on his leadership, that it would make sense for the president to go downstairs from the Oval Office to the White House Situation Room and order his Secretary of State and CIA Director and all the other, and the Secretary of Defense and others, to get their behinds down to the Situation Room, because I want to manage this and make sure that because if I'm the president, I would want to manage this situation and make sure that every resource available to the American government is being used, including and up to the president making phone calls to the Libyan government and asking for help in response to something else that was not done. So we have just a list of things that were not followed in the terms of the protocol, in my opinion, or at least the protocol of the administration in which I worked. But the Obama administration seems to have a different set of priorities and a protocol, and they have from day one, and that's unfortunate.
And I think that's also a part of what you bring to the project, because you knew something was very, very wrong. You knew something was very, very wrong when you learned of Gregory Hicks, the highest-ranking official on the ground in Benghazi and in Libya general as well. He spoke to the issue of a terrorist attack, and you heard our Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, who received that call at 2 a.m., and heard that it was not due to a film, come out and blame the film, something that caused the Libyan leaders' jaw to drop. So you knew something was wrong right away, didn't you?
Absolutely. Well, most of us knew. Anybody who was paying half a bit of attention, anyone in America, I think, who just didn't want to continue to believe this false narrative that the administration put forward, which was that Al-Qaeda is defeated, bin Laden's dead, Al-Qaeda is defeated, terrorists are on the run everywhere. I mean, and as it's proving, especially right now, that couldn't be any further from the truth. I mean, you think about this. We have a resurgent terrorist movement with significant achievements in northern Africa, which is Benghazi and Algeria, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, and other places, and it's a huge problem. In fact, some could argue, that simple question: are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Well, in regards to the strength of terrorists, I would have to say, no, we're not better off. We're worse off. In fact, the world's a more dangerous place now than when the president and his leave-from-behind policies were put into place.
And we have a report from Bill Gertz out of the Washington Free Beacon, and it was picked up by Fox News. And I'll give you the byline here. U.S. intelligence agencies earlier this month uncovered new evidence that Al-Qaeda-linked terrorists in Benghazi are training foreign jihadists to fight with Syria's Islamist rebels, according to U.S. officials. And we're talking about Ansar al-Sharia, which was the terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda affiliated, that was mentioned first when we heard about this attack, was it not?
Yeah, and that's in this article. Should it surprise anyone? Really? Mm-hmm. Here we have the administration's response to Benghazi is to treat it as a law enforcement incident. And as we all can recollect and remember, that was the Clinton administration's approach. Well, we're just going to investigate the terrorists and we're going to bring them to justice. Well, the Bush administration's approach was, well, in instances where we can bring them to justice, great. But in the rest of the time, we're going to be on the offense and we're going to go out and kill or capture these terrorists, and we're going to put them either behind bars in a place like Gitmo, or we're going to kill them because they hate us. They hate what we stand for. They hate every single thing that we stand for. It's, in my opinion, it is evil. It's the devil working on the earth, and we must defeat these Islamic extremists.
Absolutely. And to do that, we've got to be honest, and we've got to pursue those and bring them to justice, and that is accountability for all. You're doing that, Buzz, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you recapping. There's so much more we could talk about. We'll do it in the future. But Benghazi9-11.com, Benghazi9-11.com. That is Buzz Jacobs. Thank you, my friend. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Crane.
Take care. All right, coming up, Pete Sepp, National Taxpayers Union, AFR Talk.